I know it's been a while, but Selena here with So Small, and I thought today that I'd finally give you a good tour of my sewing room. So you've all been lucky enough to see little snippets to where I do my videos, but today I thought I'd take you on a tour. I'm actually in the middle of sewing something, so I thought this would be a good way to kind of also show you my sort of sewing routines. So let's get started. Okay, so my sewing room is the smallest bedroom in our house, and when we decided that actually we were going to make it more into my sewing room, I ended up measuring the whole room, and I made a little scaled model drawing to make sure I could get everything in. So I've got my little tissue paper decoupage S on my door, just because something I made a little while ago. So we start here. We have my dress form that regularly gets used maybe for half done projects or completed projects. So at the moment it has 2 completed projects. So I put that one on my grid a little while ago. So that is my lace overlay ultimate shift top, and then this is another ultimate shift top I've just recently done in this fabric. A little bit of a split hem there, 3/4 length sleeves that I haven't had chance to kind of really wear or photograph. This is generally, because it's my room, there's a bit of everything. So I have my DVD collection all here as well, and then just because this outfit is so tall and lovely, it's currently hanging out. So this is my Camille jumpsuit, which is a sew over it pattern that again I've just not really had a chance to take a photo and put it on my grid, but it's in my plans to, so it's there to keep reminding me. But I did enjoy making that make. I have double wardrobes here with my mirrored front, so A, makes the room a bit bigger, and B, it's also good for taking my photos. And then we have my gorgeous triangle wall in my lovely colours with my my print I got for Christmas a few years back, of which it's probably subliminal messaging. I think I do need to go through my wardrobe. So if we go back round, so this is my Kallax unit, which houses quite a lot of my sewing stuff. So I've just recently moved this round. I've been inspired by the home edit, and just generally having a rethink about where things were. So here are my patterns, generally my PDF patterns. This one is just children's patterns because I do make a few things for my daughter. So I've got mainly mine. They've spilled out. Some of these are patterns in here that are unopened, but they're not really the big 4. And then I've got some of my books. I've got the 3rd Tilly book, but you'll see that one in a minute. So then I've recently moved all of my good size fabric pieces here, and kind of done them in more of colour sections. So we have there's like browns and reddies at the bottom. So I know that this one here, this is one I've had a long time that I plan to make on a Lizzie skirt. I've got leftover of this fabric, which I might make into an Ivy skirt. Both of those are sew over it patterns. I've got 3 meters of this fabric that I'm still umming what to do. This is a scuba, and I've got plans to kind of make a nice dress because it just reminds me a bit Ted Baker-ish. A chiffon, some Christmas canvases, bits of leftover, some plains to make some tops because I know that's what I'm missing, some sew over it fabric, some leftovers that I think are going to be made into a children's jumper. This is some ponte. This is some gingham check. This is a duvet cover I picked up from IKEA. It was a king size for a £5, so I'm going to try and use lots of that, be sustainable. This is the leftover. This is leftover viscose jersey that I managed to get for £2 a metre. So I have plans to make that into a dress. I'll show you the other make, and then there's leftover corduroy. This has the scraps that are kind of my scraps that have some substance to them that I probably could make into lots of different things. This is my pattern one, of which is chock-a-block, which is probably why it's not coming out right now. It's caught. So I just have a variety of my patterns in there. I've got patterns, envelopes ready. I made my own pattern envelopes, and then these are some PDFs and patterns, or mainly traced. So these are lots of my telly and the buttons patterns, which I've taken out of these books. There's some more telly patterns there. Otherwise, mainly big four, but the ones I kind of like more at the moment because the rest of them live in that nice big long box there. I then have some empty folders, some Slim in One magazines, and my sewing mags. This is the box of scraps that is kind of really scrappy bits that I can't, not sure. I'm working with them. Sometimes I pull them out for little scraps. This is wool, and then this is kind of other random stuff. There's the leftovers from I made the table runners for my wedding. I had a blue and a gold, and I know they're kind of sat in there. There's a dress that I really like, but it's just a bit too short for my older things. So there's my table runners that I might make into a fancy dress costume. There's stuffing, and there's another previous duvet. So that's predominant my sewing stuff. Just this has got board games in it. This was me squeezing in as much storage as possible. I do have a few more books and stuff here, so the sewing bee books, games, and general other things I have stored in and around my room. In here I have some felting stuff for like felt food and stuff. I've done a bit of that in lockdown, so I have it is on my grid, but for example I made a felt pizza and some other felt food, some wadding at the bottom. These are some of my tins and tool treads. This is full of fat quarters. And I think this box has overlocker thread, though I have just seen a new way of storing that, which might involve this little thing. So I've recently kind of attached my IKEA ironing board to my IKEA trolley, and actually I'm finding that really useful. It's not taking up a lot of space. Generally have other threads and stuff in the top drawer. This rack has a little handbag that I made myself early in lockdown. These are labels from Crafty Pinup. I also have snaps, good for children's making. I have my snap machine, and at the bottom is my bias binding makers. So they've been really useful. And then in the bottom I've got my tailor's ham, my sleeve. This is a pair of ultimate trousers which I need to replace the zip because it works, but it's caught the zip has caught the fabric here, so the zip comes up and it catches on a hole in here, so I can't really do them up, so I need to replace that. I also have a old pair of straighteners, which I find sometimes really good for some seams and pressing. So this is my desk, my sewing space. I have my trusty sewing machine here, my workspace in the middle, and my overlocker. So if I take a seat, so this current work in progress is Tilly and the Buttons Suki, and I'm actually challenging myself to just use the shortcut steps, which is going well, apart from my bobbin ran out the other night and I just wasn't in the mood to redo it then, so I have to go back and finish understitching my facing. I'm planning to do the version with the sash tie, so it brings it in because I prefer the waist. So then I have my Singer overlocker here. If you've been listening to me before, you know me and this overlock had some trust issues, but we've kind of worked out that my needle doesn't work. It messes the system up. Probably should get it serviced to check what was wrong with that, but at the moment it works really happily, lovely, on a 3-ring setup in this exact thing. So I don't like to fiddle with it because it works. So we've got that there. Some of my sewing tools I've got out. So these are an amazing pair of sewing scissors my mum got me for Christmas a few years ago. I think she got them in a Black Friday sale. They've got Ginga on the front, so I don't know where they came from, but they're amazing. The rest of my scissors live in this table, a side organizer I've got down here, in some tape measure thread. So I've got pinking shears, I've got normal scissors, like scissors for paper, so they all live there. Another pair of fabric scissors, which is the black ones here. I've got pins. I tend to have, these are older pins that are a bit more used, slightly bent, that I tend to use for in-sewing. And then this box I tend to take when I pin out onto fabric. Seam ripper, rubber, I love snips. This is an iPad stand I made myself a few years ago. I like to watch TV programs while I sew, so it currently leans up against this. I have my trusty printer. I'm using a lot of PDF patterns. I actually quite like them. I quite like putting them together. It feels like a puzzle. I've recently seen a Rebecca Page tip for using a hole punch on the corners to save yourself cutting, so I might give this a go. This is my laptop because this is obviously my normal desk, so I've got my laptop here, and this is the rest of that viscose jersey that I made up into an AK Patterns Abi Jumpsuit. Now I was worried about the length. I'm quite tall, I'm 5'9", so I added an extra panel in the middle that I created, this panel here. And I actually think I don't need it, so I'm going to try and take it out and put it back together. So obviously it was between the bodice and the bottom, and see how well that fits. This is my box I've got that I've painted the drawers in the same colours as my wall to match. This is a pattern I've kind of hacked and made. It's for my daughter, and I've made a little ruffle top. So I've split the front and made a ruffle top, and then actually I'm speaking to my mum, she's creative inspired, I might then make another different alteration to the pattern to make a more like a ruffle dress, almost indigo, Celine Vance indigo inspired. And then this is the pattern pieces for the Suki dress I'm currently doing, my spare paper for my printer. I currently have in the bottom or my loads of overlocker threads. I'm no longer afraid to thread this wonderful machine. I know that scares people. I have my spare feet for my sewing machine and all my bobbins in this one. This is kind of random odds and ends that kind of come out of sewing. I have my tailor's chalk in this one. I have some curtain making tools in here, so this is rivets and stuff, but I have seen Stitch Odyssey use one of those on her Rita shirt dress rather than a buttonhole, so they'll be useful to keep. And then this one is empty, often keeps my pins in it. And then I'm also lucky that I've managed to purchase a series of IKEA pegboards, and again I tend to keep my pins, my snips and my little scissors in here. There's a little pin cushion in here which keeps my hand sewing needle. I've got another style seam ripper there. It keeps my tweezers for my overlocker in there as well, so those are useful little tools. These are just pens, pencils and other markings. I've got a set of colouring pencils and that there. This one holds all of my tailor's rulers. I got a set for Christmas last year and they are also handy, especially now I'm experimenting with patterns and altering them and changing them. This has my white thread or black thread and some spare bobbins in it. I tend to keep them separate from colours. These are all my little pins. My needles and the tool to change the needle on my sewing machine. This is a pot of threads as well that don't fit on my hooks. I would love to have this filled with the hooks so I can have all my colours out. Any current patterns or tools I'm working on. This has empty spools because I'm a slight hoarder, and then some more papery sort of patterns up here. So this was a pattern for some felt lettuce leaves. These are my Fifi eye masks. Because this one is on its side, I can only use the pegs and the things, the elasticy band stretchy things up on the top one, because the hooks and stuff will only go one way. But I find this really useful. I found this has been really handy, that all my tools are just accessible. I also have hidden, because like I said, this is a tiny room for all my storage, and I've got boxes and stuff hidden under here. Genuinely, this is other personal stuff. I've got handbag storage, and there is a box of stationery that I crack into every now and then. I also have this tower, of which tends to keep zips and elastic on the top. This is a bag of bias binding. I have in this one, this is a project in this bag. This bag has some fat quarters in it, and this bag has my interfacing. So they're kind of kept together. And then genuinely, I've got this one is the last one we're sewing. So I've got my pattern tracing paper, and again some books and kind of catalogues. So it all keeps in really nicely. I like that I've got my window. There's not much of a view outside, but it keeps the air, it lets the light in. I can have some air in when I'm sewing and doing stuff. So I like that. I've currently got my crochet project here. It's a holly wreath in crochet. So obviously before they were attached to the wreath, they all lived in this jar, which was a good way. These are example of them. So I've got a few more to fit round, and then so that's kind of a side project. But this is my little sewing space, my little haven, kind of dedicated to me. So this is my sewing room. It feels good kind of sharing it all with you. Feel free to ask any questions, and I can point you in any directions of things I've had or found, tips and trips I like. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll put my Instagram tag in the bottom, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.